Dimensional analysis, sports. So these ones are more complicated. This is a good one to kind of go through. Try it on your own, obviously, but don't feel bad if you can't get it. And then after we've gone over the notes, go ahead and try and actually redo them on your own from beginning to end without the notes and see if you can still get through. That's how challenging these can be. Remember, the equation that we're going to be using is given over 1 multiplied by rate over rate, where the unit in the denominator should keep canceling out with the given. And then the rate here is the desired rate. This the numerator has the desired rate. Okay, and then bam, bam. And this is going to actually go on for a few extra steps. So this is going to be a great question to see how extra steps all come into account here. All right. All right, so of course the hardest thing or the most important thing or the first thing to do is figure out what our given is. And we look at number 3, Miguel Cabrera has an on-base percentage of 0.440. He scores a run 25% or 1/4 of the time after he reaches a base. So every time he reaches a base, 25% of those times after he scores. How many batting attempts does he need in order to score a total of 6 runs? So if you can haven't already guessed what the given is in this situation, it's going to be 6 runs. All right, so we can write that as our given. 6 runs over uno here. All right, and then let's see what our next one is. Like, I haven't even really looked into the question too much, and I can already, even though I made it, I haven't reread this in a while. And I know that my denominator is going to be runs. Okay, and what I see is that he scores 1 run for every 4 base reachings. If that's like a term, right? For every time he reaches base. All right, so this is a very abstract concept, so I definitely recommend this for people that are more interested in sports or really want a challenge here for dimensional analysis. Okay, and what we see is that our runs cancel out, and this 1 run for 4 bases is coming from this right here. The fact that he scores a run 25% of the time. He gets 1 run for every 4 times he reached bases, or 1/4. Notice here how it's, or 1/4. Notice here it's 1/4. Dimensional analysis, when it comes to rates, it's okay to flip them because what you're trying to do is make sure that your units are properly canceling out. So that takes care of this one here. All right. And so what we're trying to ultimately getting to is how many batting attempts does he have to do? Well, what we see is that he has an on-base percentage of 0.440. So what does that mean? So what that means is our next unit we'll say is that we can actually, so we'll call this base appearances or base reaching, right? I know that's what this is. So this is going to be how many times he gets on base. All right, and he gets on base 0.440 for every 1 at bat. That's what OBP stands for, right? If you ever watch baseball and you ever wondered about that, they'll usually post that stat there. And what we're left with now is the units all canceling out until we've gotten to what we're looking for, which is at bats. How many batting attempts does he need? Same term. And what we see is it's going to be 6 times 4 times 1. So it's going to be 24 over 0.440. All right, at bats. This doesn't seem to make too much sense until you put it into the calculator. And what we see is it's going to be 24 divided by 0.440. So we're going to get a bigger number. And it's 54.54 repeating. So we'll just round that, let's say up, 55 at bats. Okay, so this is 55 at bats, and this is it makes sense, right? If to make 6 runs on his own, it would take Miguel Cabrera about 55 at bats. I made up that scoring 25% of the time, but in baseball, it doesn't seem that actually outlandish to think about that too much. Okay, so let's see how that is going to change in the game of football. All right, same thing. Try and pause it to see if you can guess what our given is going to be. And in this point, at this question, it's going to be 72 points. That's our given. So 72 points over 1. And I know that my next fraction is going to have points on the bottom. This one may be more tangible just because baseball is so dense, and this is a football question, so it's a little bit more attainable. So after Ezekiel Elliott runs for a total of 120 yards in a game, he scores 2 touchdowns. How many yards does he need to run in order to score 72 points? Well, we see that points has to be in the denominators, and we're thinking about football, and we're actually given a rate right here. So that tells us that we're going to want to put a 6 here and realize that it's 6 points for every 1 touchdown. Not 7. I know that a lot of people think that, but it's just usually because they go for that extra kick. So often people just always think of 7. All right, so now we see that points have canceled out. We're at touchdowns, right? And what we see is here's another rate given to us right here. All right, he scores 2 touchdowns after he gets 120 yards. So let's make that connection here in our next rate. All right, it's going to be 2 touchdowns. Now this goes on the bottom because it's going to cancel out with the previous numerator. Touchdowns. All right, see, these two are now going to cancel out, and for every time he gets 2 touchdowns, that must mean that he ran 120 yards. Touchdowns cancels, touchdown cancel. All right, and how many yards does he need to get? That tells us that we're now at our answer because we see that yards and yards here, which is our desired unit, have finally ran into each other or finally appeared. So we have is our numerator is going to come out to be 72 times 120, 72 times 120, and that is 86. I already forgot the last part. 40 over 6 times 2, which is 12. All right, yards. So once you simplify this, remember all fractions are like disguised division problems, which is the numerator divided by the denominator, and you end up with 720 yards he needs to run in order to be accountable for 72 points.